She hadn't spoken in 4 months, not to anyone. Not once. Then the notes started. Maintenance technician Dale Orris had been a station research eldering. His job was simple: keep the equipment running, fix what broke, so stay out of the way of the scientists who actually mattered. He was good at the first two. The third one he managed most of the time. He had come to the research wing from a general maintenance posting on the station's lower levels, which was louder and busier and where the work was more urgent but less interesting. The research wing was quieter. The problems were smaller, usually, but more precise: a calibration issue here, a ventilation adjustment there, the kind of work that required attention to detail rather than speed. He had found, over 3 years, that he preferred it. The research wing had 14 occupied offices. He knew the name of every researcher in 11 of them because in 3 years they had needed something fixed, and fixing things required at least a brief conversation. The other 3 he knew by sight but not by name, because they had never needed anything fixed, and in a workplace where conversation followed necessity, silence meant nothing was broken. Office 7 was different. He knew about Office 7 not because anything had broken, but because the station's welfare check system had flagged it 6 weeks into his posting. A note in the maintenance system, not his department, technically, but routed welfare flags to all senior staff in the wing said that the researcher in Office 7 had not been seen in the common areas for an extended period and that wellness contact had been attempted twice without response. Dale had read the flag, noted that it was not a maintenance issue, and moved on. The flag came back 4 weeks later. Same of wellness contact attempted 3 times. No response to any of them. He had looked up the Office 7 researcher's name after the second flag. Dr. Sen Vel, Veshan. Xenobiology. 3 years into a 5-year research contract, the personnel record was short: a professional summary, a publication list, a photograph that showed someone with the specific closed expression of a person who had learned to keep their face neutral in official documentation. He had not done anything with this information. It was still not a maintenance issue. The third flag came 8 weeks after the second. By that point, 4 months had passed since anyone on the station had heard Dr. Vel speak. Not an exaggeration, he had checked, because the third flag had included a welfare coordinator's note that said exactly that. 4 months, 0 verbal communication. Meals collected from the delivery slot outside her office. Work submitted electronically, on time, complete. Physically present and professionally functional. Simply not speaking. Dale had read the third flag. Read it again. Then he had gone back to the conduit repair. He was halfway through and finished it. Then he had sat for a while thinking about something that was still not, technically, a maintenance issue. Then he had found a piece of paper. Welcome to HFY Universe. Drop a comment right now and tell me what city you are watching from tonight. I want to know where this story is reaching. And subscribe now if you haven't, because the first note he left is coming in about 30 seconds and I promise it is not what you are expecting. Let's keep going. The note said, the environmental control panel outside your office is running 2 degrees cold. I adjusted it this morning. Let me know if it feels better or if you want it warmer. He slid it under the door of Office 7 at 080 on a Tuesday. Because the panel had actually been running cold. He had checked it specifically before writing the note and it had been calibrated correctly. But it was a reason to leave a note that required no response, that made no demands, and that communicated exactly one thing. Someone had noticed she was there. He went back to his work. He did not expect anything back. At 1400 that afternoon, there was a folded piece of paper on the floor outside his maintenance station. He almost stepped over it. Then he picked it up. It said, warmer would be good. Thank you. 4 words and a thank you. He looked at them for a moment. The equipment running, then he filed them in the part of his brain where he kept things he was not sure what to do with yet, and went back to work. The second note took him 2 days to write, not because he didn't know what to say. Because he was thinking carefully about what kind of thing to say, which the problem. The first note had been practical, a reason that required no personal engagement. The second note needed to be something else. And he spent 2 days turning options over before he found the right one. It said, There is a vent on the east wall of your office that exhales a specific sound when the pressure differential hits a certain point. Usually around 1600. Has been bothering you? I can adjust it. If you have gotten used to it and would miss it, I will leave it alone. He slid it under the door on Thursday morning. The response came back the same afternoon. It said, I had gotten used to it. Leave it alone. He smiled at that one. Then he put it in the same place he had put the first one, which a drawer in his maintenance station that he had started keeping clear specifically for this purpose without quite acknowledging to himself that he was doing so. The third note took him one day. It said, I found a small crack as baseboards near your window last week when I was checking the heating system. It is not structural, it will not get worse. But if it bothers you to know it is there, I can fill it this week. If you have already noticed it and decided you do not mind, I will leave it alone. He was startled to understand that leave it alone was a language she was comfortable with. A way of saying, I see this, I have decided about it. My decision is my own. He was learning to offer options that included that choice because options that included it got answered. The response came back the next morning. It said, I noticed it in the first week. I do not mind it, but thank you for checking. Station Welfare Coordinator Pran had been in the role for 6 years. She had dealt with researcher isolation before. It was an occupational pattern in long contract research postings, where the work consumed everything and the social infrastructure eroded slowly enough that nobody noticed until it had been gone for a while. She had protocols for it. She had attempted the protocols with Dr. Bell 3 times. 3 times the protocols had produced no response. On the 5th, after the silence began, she received a routine maintenance report from the research wing that included, in the notes section, record of 3 informal welfare contacts with the researcher in Office 7, conducted via written note, all resulting in response. She read the report twice. Then she called the maintenance technician. Dale came to her office at 1500. He sat in the chair across from her desk with the slightly cautious expression of someone who was not sure if they had done something wrong. The notes, she said. They were not welfare contacts, he said, carefully. They were maintenance notifications. The environmental panel outside Office 7 was calibrated correctly, she said. I checked. He was quiet for a moment. Yes, he said. She looked at him. The vent on the east wall. Also fine, he said. The baseboard crack cosmetic, he said. I was going to fill it eventually. Pran looked at the maintenance report. 3 notes, 3 responses, 4 months of silence. And a maintenance technician had gotten 3 responses in 3 weeks with notes about things that were not actually broken. How did you know it would work? She asked. He thought about it. I did not know. He said. I just thought if someone has stopped talking, there is probably a reason. And reasons are usually about something that happened, not about the people around them. So maybe what they need is not someone trying to get through the reason. Maybe they need someone who is just there. Not asking, just there. Pran looked at him for a long moment. You left her notes about maintenance issues that were not actually maintenance issues, she said. Left her notes that had an easy answer, he said. That did not require anything difficult. That just said someone had noticed she was in the room. She was quiet for a moment. Outside her office window, moved around them the ordinations of research wing, scientists going to and from their offices, the low hum of equipment running properly. You did not report the welfare flags to your supervisor, she said. I'm not in the welfare, he said. The flags came to me because the system routes them to all senior staff. I did not know what to do with them except what I did. And what you did, she said, was leave notes about a heating panel that was not broken. Yes, he said. She looked at the maintenance report again. Read the 3 response summaries. Warmer would be good. Leave it alone, but thank you for checking. 3 sentences from someone who had not spoken in 4 months. 3 sentences that had arrived in 3 weeks via a maintenance technician who had decided, on his own, without protocol or instruction, that what someone who had stopped talking might need was not someone trying to make them talk. Just someone being there. Has she asked you to stop? She asked. No, he said. Then continue, she said, and tell me if anything changes. He nodded and stood to leave. Dale, she said. He stopped. The heating panel, she said. If you ever need a reason to leave a note, a real one, something that is actually broken, you can tell me. I will make sure something needs looking at. He looked at her for a moment. Then something moved in his expression, not quite a smile, but close. Thank you, he said. I will keep it in mind. He left. She looked at the maintenance report for a while longer. Then, she filed it in a different folder from the standard welfare records, one she kept for things that did not fit the existing categories but that she wanted to be able to find again. She highlighted the folder. What actually works? Fourth. A window seal in your office is good, but there is a specific angle in the late afternoon where the light comes through the reflection of the building opposite and hits the east wall. It does not cause any damage. I noticed it today when I was in the corridor. I do not know if you find it pleasant or if it gets in the way of your work. Let me know if you would like a shade adjustment. The response came back the same evening. It said, I find it pleasant. Time my reading to it. Leave it alone. He put it in the drawer. The fifth note said, I am making repairs to the ceiling panel in the corridor outside offices 6 through 8 next Tuesday from 0900 to 1100. There will be some noise. I will try to keep it to a minimum. If Tuesday is a difficult day, I can reschedule to Wednesday. The response came back the next morning. It said, Tuesday is fine. I will use the time for data entry which does not require concentration. Sixth note said, the data entry took longer than the ceiling panel. I finished at 10:45. I hope the noise was not too disruptive. There was a long pause before the response to this one. Long enough that he had moved on to other work and almost forgotten he was waiting. Then it appeared under his door. It said, it was not disruptive. I found the rhythm of it useful actually. It gave the morning a structure. List key equipment running. Then he put it in the drawer and did not take it out again for a while, but he thought about it, about what it said about what the mornings had been like before, and what it said about what she needed that was different from what the wellness protocols had been trying to give her. The seventh note was different from the others. He spent 4 days writing it. Because it was long, it was shorter than most of the others. Because it crossed a line that the previous 6 had carefully stayed behind, and he needed to be sure crossing it was the right thing before he did. It said, I have been leaving these notes for 6 weeks. I do not know if they have been welcome or simply tolerated. If they have been tolerated, I will stop. If they have been welcome, I would like to continue. Either answer is fine. Slid it under the door on a Monday morning and went to the other end of the station to do a full diagnostic on the water recycling system, which took most of the day and kept him far enough away that he could not check if there was a response waiting yet. The water recycling diagnostic took 6 hours. He was thorough about it, more thorough than the job strictly required. He ran every check twice. He documented everything carefully. He was aware, at some level, that he was keeping himself busy for a reason, and he let himself do it without examining the reason too closely. He got back to his station at 17:30. The response was there. It said, they have been welcome. I was not sure you would want to know. He sat with that one for a long time. The station had gone quiet around him end of the working day, most of the research wing emptying out, the specific silence of a building that has been full of people and is now mostly not. He sat in it and read the note and thought about what it said and what it did not say and the gap between those two things, which was where most of what mattered was living. Then he wrote the 8th note. It said, I am glad. No, I will keep leaving. He slid it under her door before he left for the evening. He did not wait to see if there was a response. Some notes did not need one. There was not one that evening. But the next morning, before he started his shift, he found a folded paper on the floor outside his station. It said, I read yours before I went to sleep. I slept better than I have in a while. He stood there for a moment with that one in his hand. Then he put it in the drawer. Then he started his shift. The 9th note said, I noticed the light in the corridor outside your office has been flickering slightly for 2 days. I will replace the housing today. It should not bother you after this afternoon. The response said, I had not noticed. But thank you. I notice everything else. The 10th note said, I am going to be doing scheduled maintenance on the East Wing tomorrow all morning. The research wing will be quieter than usual. I thought you might want to know in case the quiet is useful for something. The response took 2 days to come. When it arrived it was longer than the others. It said, I used the quiet to finish something I have been trying to finish. I do not know if you planned it that way or if it was simply maintenance timing. Either way, thank you. The quiet helped. He read that one twice. Then he wrote back immediately, which was the first time he had responded the same day. It said, I am glad the timing worked. The East Wing maintenance happens every 3 months. I will let you know before the next one. The response came back within the hour. It said, I would like that. The 8th month after the silence began, Dr. Senvel came to the maintenance station at 0915 on a Wednesday, not to report a problem, not to pick up a delivery. She stood at the open door of this station, and Dahel looked up from the conduit assembly he was working on, and for a moment neither of them said anything. Then she said, the panel in the common area near the water station has been making a sound for 3 days. I thought you should know. Her voice was quiet from not being used. A little uncertain at the edges, the way voices get when they have been kept still for a long time, but clear. Present. There, he set down his tools. I will take a look this morning, he said. Thank you for telling me. She nodded once, then, she went back to her office. He went and looked at the panel. It was making a small one, a vibration in the housing that was easy to fix and that he had genuinely not noticed before she mentioned it. He fixed it in 20 minutes. Then he went back to his station and wrote a note. It said, the panel is fixed. Good catch. He slid it under her door at lunchtime. The response came back that afternoon. It said, I have been paying attention to the sounds in this building for 8 months. I know all of them now. He smiled at that one for a long time, then he put it in the drawer with the others, and went back to work, and thought about how sometimes the most important thing you can do for someone is simply leave a note about something small and give them the option to answer or not answer and keep showing up regardless. The drawer had 11 notes in it and by the end of the year, he kept all of them. That is the story for today. Drop a comment and tell me what city are you watching from tonight. And tell me this. Which note do you think mattered most to her? Because I think that question a lot, and I genuinely want to know your answer. If this one stayed with you, share it with one person who needs a quiet story today. One share means everything to this channel. And if you are not subscribed to HFY Universe yet, do it right now. New stories every week and the next one is already on its way. Until then, stay human, even when all you have is a piece of paper and something small to say. Especially then.